Hey there friends, it's Laurie. I'm so happy you stopped by because today I'm making an all-occasion grapevine greenery wreath for myself. My favorite color is blue, so I'm adding in just a hint. I used a few things that I had on hand, and other than that, all the greenery with the exception of the blue flowers came from the Dollar Tree. As always, I hope you have fun crafting with me, so let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using an 18-inch grapevine wreath, and I picked mine up at Michael's. You can always use a smaller size, and you can pretty much find them everywhere. For the greenery base, I'm using 3 stems of the Dollar Tree hanging greenery. It doesn't have a specific name, but it does look similar to Michael's green ficus, so if you can't find it, you can always grab it there. They come with 3 individual stems, and I snipped each one off. I'm turning the 3 stems into 6, and I cut about 1/3 up from the bottom. When you have all of them cut, you'll find that you have 9 stems that have been cut just a bit longer. I'm starting with my larger pieces first. I'm tucking them into the grapevine and working my way around the form. I'll be adding a bow onto my wreath, so I'm leaving a small opening on one side. You can completely fill your grapevine wreath, but I'm leaving a wider opening on the other side. Now that I have them all in place, to make sure they don't move, I'm using my hot glue gun to secure them. With that complete, I'm now adding in the shorter cut pieces, filling in some of the open spaces. Because it will be a little difficult to see the ends with so much green, I'm gluing each one in place after I add it. I'm using Dollar Tree greenery for my wreath, but you can always change it up, and as long as you add something that fills out the area, any type of greenery will work. If you're stopping by for the first time, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below, leaving me a thumbs up, and to all my returning friends, you know I'm always so happy to see you. My next layer of greenery is also from the Dollar Tree. I'll be using 4 stems of it, and to me, it looks like leafy vines. Unlike the first set of greenery that comes with 3 individual stems, these come with 5. So once again, I'm clipping them all free from the main stem. I'm adding these on just like my other greenery. I'm kind of tucking them in here and there, and then hot gluing them into place. One thing that I noticed about the Dollar Tree greenery is they're now making most of them out of plastic. Now, normally I would never buy plastic because usually it does look kind of cheap, but I was surprised that this looks really high-end. And to be honest, unless you looked really close at it and you touched it, you probably would never know that it was made out of plastic. I used 12 stems of the Dollar Tree greenery, and at the current price of $1.25, it cost me $12.50 excluding tax. I added in all the pieces of the leafy greenery with the exception of 2. On the bottom of the wreath where I started adding in the greenery, you can see some remnants of hot glue. This is where I'm attaching the last 2 pieces. I'm adding them on backwards so they'll hide that bit of hot glue that's showing. The last layer of greenery that I'm adding are 3 stems from the Dollar Tree, and these remind me of boxwood. There's 5 individual stems, and just like the others, I cut them away from the main stem. I did my best to evenly space them around the wreath, and once I had them in place, I used my hot glue gun to secure them. I really liked adding in the last bunch of greenery because the leaves were variegated, so it did add a little hint of yellow to the wreath. After adding this last layer of stems around the wreath, I ended up with a few left over, so I added them here and there just to kind of fill out any of those empty spaces. I also made sure to leave one of them out. The one I held out, I attached in the opposite direction, just like the 2 leafy vines, to help hide any of the glue residue. When I was done, I went around and I fluffed out the greenery. I'm making a bow for my wreath, and I'm using my Easy Bow Maker. I picked this up a while back on Amazon. I'm using a 2.5-inch green wired ribbon, and this came from the Dollar Tree. I'm also using a 2.5-inch wired blue ribbon, and this came from Hobby Lobby. The last ribbon that I'll be adding on is a 1.5-inch wired ribbon, and this came from the Dollar Tree. To get started, I'm using my green ribbon. I'm making 18-inch tails and giving myself 2 6-inch loops. When I come to the end, I'm cutting both the tails off at an angle. I'm now adding on the blue ribbon, and once again I'm making 2 18-inch tails, but this time I'm making 4 5.5-inch loops. To finish up, I'm using the 1.5-inch burlap ribbon. This time I'm making 2 12-inch tails and 4 5-inch loops. When I was done, I cut both of the tail ends at an angle. I'm attaching my bow together using an 18-inch piece of floral wire. I pulled my bow straight up off of the bow maker and then wrapped my wire around the center. I pulled back the 2 sides and then twisted it tightly. When I was done, I then fluffed out my loops. I chose 3 different colors for my bow, but you can always make one the same color. With the bow complete, you can leave it as is. I'm making an easy decorative center. I'm using about a 6-inch piece of the same burlap ribbon and making a knot in the middle. I added some hot glue into the center of my bow and placed down the knot. I then turned the bow over and attached the 2 ends. I'm attaching the bow to the grapevine wreath by wrapping both wires around and securing them in the back. To be sure the bow stays in place, I added on a little bit of hot glue. To finish up the bow, because the ribbons are all wired, I gave each tail a little curl. For the final accent on my wreath, I'm adding in just a hint of blue. I'm using some small blue flowers, and I picked these up a while back at Joann's. I didn't need too many and only cut a few away from the main stem. I tucked them in between the grapevine and evenly spaced the flowers around the center of my wreath. Then, to be sure that they don't move out of place, I gave each one a dot of hot glue. Adding the flowers in, it's completely optional, and if you prefer just having a wreath of greenery, be sure to skip this step. With everything in place, I love this simple wreath. It has just the right amount of blue and is the perfect addition to my home. Here we are at the end of the video, and I really hope you had fun making this year-round greenery wreath with me. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below so we can hang out again. And if you're looking for more wreath decor ideas, I will have a playlist linked for you at the end of this video, as well as in my description. I hope you have a safe and amazing day, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody!